Hello and good evening. Here's Doc Severson for the ReadySetCrypto OMNIA trade of the day for Wednesday, the 15th of September. All right, across the board, we have a relatively good positive day as we're celebrating the golden cross back to the upside for BTC versus the US dollar. I've said many times how little that I care about the death cross or golden cross, but it's worth a mention today that we're at least seeing the moving averages cross back up to the upside. Now, I don't know whether or not this move is going to stick. If we throw this out on the RSI Laguerre, we are seeing a nice upside cross on the movement to that. We have a decent amount of energy, and if we look across the board here, we're a little bit deficient on the weekly chart, but that's still not bad. That's still enough to be able to drive something. Is this going to be the magic higher low that we've been looking for? Yes, maybe, but only if the price continues higher above and beyond the 50, looks like about the 53,000 level is what we have to break out. So we'll be watching for that in the near term future to see whether or not. Otherwise, what we have is we have what we call a decision box here. Decision box is bounded by that 53 level and down here at about 43. So there's a 10,000 point decision box. If the price puts in a lower high and then cuts down below 43, that's a bad sign. This makes this all a big monthly lower high. Be careful of that. If that happens, that could move very quickly. Otherwise, if we do see the price move outside the box above 53, that confirms the uptrend and that gives us that transition back to an uptrend on the weekly chart, which is relatively powerful. Ethereum looking good, has all kinds of energy. Looks like we're about to get an upside cross here on the RSI Laguerre. Just about everything is up anywhere from 1 to 3%. Watch out for ICP, Internet Control Protocol, has survived the support test down here at about 54. See whether or not this is going to bounce back to the upside. We talked about Solana over the last couple of days. We've obviously had some issues with Solana and their network going down, but so far has handled the 50% retracement of this, and that might be as far down as it's going to go. As I talked about yesterday, I expect to see this one consolidate for at least another week or two before it takes off again. Notice the daily energy is good, but the weekly energy is absolutely exhausted. So I would expect a few weeks of this consolidating in a big range. Once you spot the range, you can look for maybe some dips to back down to support to be able to accumulate. Here is Hex versus the US dollar has survived the 38.2% bounce at this point. So that's all looking good. Although if we go out to the weekly chart again, we're showing very little energy here. So it would help some of these assets that have run away from the pack to be able to consolidate for just a few days. Now, one that bears mention here today is Phantom. Phantom is ripping today, up about 25%, which is fairly strong. Pretty good volume so far today. Lots of energy to power this move. Looking at the weekly chart, how are we doing? A little bit of exhaustion, right? So we have a lot of these assets which are a little bit stretched out, and I would prefer, instead of chasing after them, to see a weekly consolidation to separate the pikers from the longer term investors. Very little else to say today across the top 20. We have a very positive market right now. Things are still continuing to the upside, and the larger equity markets were positive today. So we're not going to have any issues, at least today, in terms of margin calls coming over from the larger equity markets. That's it for today's report. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.